This podcast was produced using artificial intelligence and refined by human editors.
Ciao a tutti, and welcome back to Travel with Lara and Luca, your go-to podcast for all things travel with a touch of humor, a pinch of history, and a generous serving of digressions.
And let's not forget a side of delightful banter. Today, we're whisking you away to the sun-drenched shores of Sicily, an island that's a feast for the senses, and, if I may say so, home to the best cannoli on the planet.
Lara and her cannoli love story. Every time we chat about Sicily, it's cannoli this and cannoli that. Folks, I swear she doesn't have a sweet tooth. She has a whole set of sweet teeth.
Guilty as charged. But trust me, by the end of this episode, you'll be booking your next flight to Sicily just to taste their heavenly pastries. But I promise, we've got way more than just food on today's menu.
Absolutely, we're covering the full Sicilian spread. Sites that take you back in time, hidden gems that even some locals might not know, must-see spots, odd little facts that you'd never expect, travel tips, side excursions, and a dash of personal stories.
So buckle up, or should I say, tie your napkin around your neck, because we're about to dive into the heart of the Mediterranean. But before we unravel the mysteries and delights of Sicily, Luca, can you share with our listeners your explosive connection to this captivating island?
Lara's setting me up for the ultimate reveal. My dear old Nonno, may he rest in peace, hailed from the slopes of none other than Mount Etna. So you could say a fiery spirit runs through my veins, a passion that sometimes erupts with, let's say, dramatic flair.
So like Etna, you're often full of hot air?
Ha, nice one. Like our magnificent volcano, I'm unpredictable, but a sight to behold. Speaking of sights,
Yes, let's talk about those Sicilian sights. Luca, when you first laid eyes on the ancient Valley of the Temples, what went through your volcanic mind?
it was as if I'd stepped into a time machine. The temple ruins stood like timeless sentries, their stone columns silhouetted against the setting sun. I couldn't help but think of the battles between gods and mortals that were once fought there.
And which god do you fancy yourself? Hermes, darting about with winged sandals, delivering messages, or maybe food orders?
Food orders, definitely. Though being Zeus doesn't sound too shabby, commanding thunderbolts and all. What about you, Lara? Which goddess resides within?
Oh, I couldn't possibly compare myself to such divine beings. But since you ask, Aphrodite, of course, given my love for all things beautiful, especially when they're edible.
Always back to food. Well, let's not forget another place that's a feast for the eyes, majestic Mount Etna. She's moody, kind of like you before your morning espresso.
Moi? Never. But yes, Etna is a must-see indeed. And let's not forget Syracuse with its breathtaking ancient ruins and the fabled Teatro Greco, where I once had an unforgettable chat with a local historian who
could talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles.
Exactly. He told me tales that would make Odysseus's adventures pale in comparison. But enough about me hogging the historical limelight. Luca, if there's one Sicilian treat you'd recommend, what's your top piatto?
A tough choice in the land of divine dishes, but I have to go with the mighty arancini, those glorious golden orbs of risotto, oozing with cheese encased in a crunchy breadcrumb shell. I once tried to make them.
Yes, and how did that go?
A culinary catastrophe, but we shall not dwell on my kitchen misadventures. Instead, let's take our listeners on a sensory journey across the sea to the Sicilian kitchen.
And it's a kitchen that extends beyond the four walls, right onto the vibrant streets of towns like Palermo and Catania, filled with tantalizing aromas and lively chatter.
But wait, before we savor the full Sicilian spread, let's take a quick break. Not for commercials, because we don't have those, but to prepare our palates and perhaps loosen our belts a notch for the feast of information we're about to serve up.
Speak for yourself. I'm keeping my belt firmly on. It's the only thing stopping me from flying directly to Sicily for an impromptu snack. All right, listeners, sit tight and we'll be right back to dive into the heart, soul, and stomach of beautiful Sicily.
Stay tuned to Travel with Lara and Luca, your virtual passport to the wonders of the world.
See you in a Sicilian minute.
And we're back, ready to embark on a tour of Sicily's most charming sights. Lara, you're our resident historian. Where to first?
Where else but the Valley of the Temples? This ancient archaeological park in Agrigento is like a sanctuary dedicated to beauty and history. Imagine Luca walking in the footsteps of ancient Greeks right here in Sicily.
I can almost hear the clinking of their armor and the whispers of their philosophers debating the meaning of life. Or perhaps the best way to cook an octopus.
Well, this incredible site is home to 7 Doric-style temples, and while I can't vouch for ancient Greek cuisine, these ruins suggest they had excellent taste in architecture.
Like the famous Temple of Concordia, right? It's one of the best preserved Doric temples in the world, not just in Sicily.
Exactly, and pun fully intended, it's a place where history and aesthetic harmony concord.
Oh, Lara, your puns are as solid as those Greek columns. You know what's funny, though? Despite its grandeur and significance, my favorite story about this site involves almonds.
Almonds?
Almonds. Legend has it that when the Temple of Hera was constructed, you could find groves of almond trees nearby. They say that their blossoms were so lovely, the temple itself blushed in their presence.
A blushing temple. Now, that's an enchanting image. Keeping with that enchantment, let's not leave out Mount Etna. This stratovolcano is not just an epic natural landmark, but a symbol of the island's fiery spirit.
Fiery, like our debates about the best gelato flavor. But I digress. Climbing Etna is nothing short of spectacular. You journey through different vegetation zones as if you're traveling through seasons, from a simple day hike to the summit.
And each zone feels like a new world. The base lush with orchards, then forests, followed by a barren, moon-like landscape near the top. Plus that view from the summit, it's so breathtaking you'd forget to argue about gelato.
True, but I'd never forget gelato. Anyway, visitors can also explore the Alcantara Gorges, created by ancient lava flows. There's something surreal about walking through those basalt columns, like a labyrinth crafted by nature herself.
Incredible. But let's not just savor views from Etna. Sipping wine from the vineyards that thrive in its fertile volcanic soil, that's a taste of the true Etna experience.
A toast to Etna's generosity. And speaking of generosity, there's the noble city of Syracuse on the eastern coast. Once a major power of the Mediterranean world and home to Archimedes, it's endowed with an array of historical delights.
The ancient ruins of Syracuse are like pages from a vast historical tome, each stone a word, each building a sentence that tells a grand tale.
Did you just come up with that? We'll make a poet out of you yet, Lara.
Maybe so. Let's give our listeners a glimpse into the Greek theater of Syracuse, carved right out of the rock face. Can you imagine those dramatic Greek tragedies and comedies performed right there?
Oh, I can. And just for you, Lara, I'll showcase my dramatic talents, ahem. Friends, Sicilians podcast listeners, lend me your ears.
Bravo! Just be sure not to scare our audience away. The Teatro Greco truly is a masterpiece, and lest we forget, it's still used for performances today, bridging old and new in an annual Greek theater festival.
From ancient playwrights to modern thespians, the stage is alive with the echoes of time. But Syracuse is not only about the past. It's a modern city where you can wander enchanting streets, enjoy a seaside meal, or
stumble upon a chance encounter with a talkative historian who might regale you with stories of secret tunnels and lost treasures beneath the streets.
I remember that. You were captivated by his tales. And who knows, maybe there's truth to those legends. For all its visible wonders, Sicily is a land of hidden depths and mysteries, just waiting to be discovered.
That's the magic of this island. Now, as much as we love the main attractions, our next pick is a bit of a detour from the typical Sicilian itinerary. What do you say we take our listeners to the east, to the town of Taormina?
Taormina, the jewel perched high above the Ionian Sea, where every street corner promises a postcard view. It's got everything. Ancient Greek theaters with views of Etna, lush gardens, and the legendary Isola Bella, a tiny island tethered to the shores by a slender strip of beach, a place where the gods themselves might come to sunbathe.
And who could blame them? With its picturesque coves and crystal-clear waters, Isola Bella is a slice of paradise. But between us, Luca, my favorite part of Taormina, is the Corso Umberto.
Ah yes, the bustling heart of the town. It's lined with chic boutiques, vibrant cafes, and the hum of life. Perfect for people watching or just soaking in that quintessential Sicilian vibe.
And it's that vibe, that ineffable feeling, that's the true essence of this island's charm. So whether it's the grandeur of ancient ruins or the simple pleasure of a leisurely stroll down Corso Umberto, Sicily's sights weave a tapestry of the past and the present, of the profound and the quotidian.
True, Lara. And speaking about weaving, it reminds me of Sicily's intricate mosaic art, like those found in the Villa Romana del Casale in Piazza Armerina. These mosaics offer vibrant glimpses into Roman life, hunting scenes, mythological themes, and even some early bikinis.
I always get a kick out of those bikini girls. It just goes to show you, some trends really are timeless. And speaking of timelessness, let's not forget the ever-so-charming Cefalù, with its Norman cathedral and stunning views of Lara.
Ah, Cefalù. That's my hidden gem recommendation. It's not as off the beaten path as it once was, but standing there on its ancient streets, with the sea lapping at your feet, it feels like a secret shared between old friends.
A shared secret, indeed. One I'd gladly whisper to our listeners. Climb to the top of Lara just before sunset. You'll be treated to a symphony of colors that paints the sky and the town below. Truly a transcendent experience.
And speaking of transcendent experiences, we've got one final stop on our tour of Sicilian sights, the city of Catania. Nestled at the foot of Etna, this Baroque beauty has risen from the ashes of volcanic eruptions time and time again, much like the mythical phoenix.
Catania is proof of Sicilian resilience. Its black and white streets, built with lava and limestone, tell a story of destruction and rebirth. The Piazza del Duomo, with its emblematic elephant fountain, it's a place where history doesn't just whisper, it roars.
And if we're talking about roars, we can't forget the city's bustling fish market, La Pesceria. The cries of vendors, the fresh scent of the sea, the laughter, and bargaining, it's chaos in the most glorious sense.
Speaking of La Pesceria, it's the perfect segue into our next segment. But before we take that leap, any parting words for our listeners about the charm of Sicilian sights? Luca?
Only this: Sicily is a land where every stone has a story, every vista inspires a poem, and every step you take is a journey through time.
Beautifully said. Whether you're awestruck by the ancient ruins, enchanted by the natural beauty, or simply moved by the rhythm of everyday life, Sicily's charm is boundless and bewildering.
And what's equally bewildering, in the best possible way, is the array of delectable Sicilian cuisine waiting for us.
Spoiler alert, folks, Luca's about to wax poetic about food again. So grab a snack, pour yourself a glass of Nero d'Avola, and stay tuned. When we come back, we're diving into the heart and stomach of Sicily's gastronomy.
See you after the break. Buon appetito in advance.
Ciao for now.
Benvenuti back, dear listeners. If you haven't already, grab a fork and knife because we're about to slice into the delectable world of Sicilian cuisine. Lara, I know you're raring to go. Can you kick us off?
Absolutely, Luca. There's no better place to start than with the street food. Sicily is a street food paradise. From Palermo to Catania, the streets are alive with culinary wonders.
I have fond memories of our street food expeditions. The joy on your face when you found the perfect arancino was akin to discovering a long-lost treasure.
Oh yes, those arancini, folks, are mouth-watering risotto balls, often stuffed with ragu, peas, mozzarella, then breaded and deep-fried to golden perfection.
They say the best arancini can make you forget about your past and your future and live unapologetically in the present, with a napkin, of course.
That might be a little much, but they are delicious. Then there are pennelle. These chickpea fritters are the epitome of Sicilian street snacks, light, savory, and utterly satisfying.
The crunch, the saltiness, the sheer joy of eating them hot off the street vendor's cart. And it's not just about taste, it's the communal atmosphere, the energy of the markets. It's the soul of Sicily served up on a paper plate.
That's so true. When we talk Sicilian food, we can't leave out the seafood. The island is surrounded by water, and the sea's bounty is everywhere. In Trapani, for instance, couscous di pesce is a revelation.
A symphony of seafood nestled in a bed of fluffy couscous, each grain infused with the essence of the ocean. It's not just food, it's poetry.
Look at you getting all lyrical. Well, in Cefalù, the fresh anchovies, sardines, and tuna are heavenly. Those glimmering fish markets are a mosaic of silver and blue, with the freshest catches laid out like jewels.
Angels weep for missed opportunities to sample Sicilian seafood. And here's a secret. my fellow travelers, don't leave without trying a plate of pasta alla norma. Originating from Catania, this dish is a tribute to Bellini's opera Norma, and what a tribute it is.
It's an aria on a plate, pasta with fried eggplant, rich tomato sauce, basil, and a generous sprinkling of ricotta salata cheese. Magnificent.
And while Lara talks operatic pasta, let's not forget Sicily's sweet side. I mean, I could harp on about cannoli all day, but Lara, you're the expert. Tell us what makes these pastries so special.
Well, a true Sicilian cannolo is an art form, a crispy shell filled with sweet, creamy ricotta. And here's a quirky little fact. The best ricotta is said to come from sheep that graze on the Hyblean herbs. It's like you can taste the Sicilian countryside in every bite.
Is it just me, or have you fallen in love with a pastry filling?
Let's just say it's a very serious relationship. And don't get me started on the marzipan fruits, Fruta martorana. They're so lifelike, it's almost a shame to eat them. Almost.
You're killing me, Lara. You know I love marzipan more than some of my cousins. And speaking of sweet revelations, the gelato in brioche
is the breakfast of champions. No judgment here, folks. It's a Sicilian summertime staple. Smooth gelato tucked inside a warm, buttery brioche bun.
If heaven's doors were made of bread, they'd surely be crafted from Sicilian brioche. And what about granita? That's another cool temptation. Flavors like lemon, almond, coffee, perfect company on a hot day.
Picture this. You're sitting at a cafe in Taormina, a refreshing almond granita in front of you, the Mediterranean sun warming your face. It's moments like these that make Sicilian travels unforgettable.
Ah, la dolce vita indeed. Now, as much as I want to keep talking about the sweet life, we've got, shall we say, bitter business to attend to. Someone say bitter? Amaro.
An acquired taste for some, but Amaro is a traditional herbal liqueur typically enjoyed as a digestivo. It can be as complex and mysterious as Sicily itself with its blend of roots, herbs, and citrus peels.
A sip of Amaro, and your palate embarks on a journey through the island's ancient groves, sun-baked fields, and shadowy forests. It's not just a drink, it's an experience.
It tells a story of the land. Speaking of stories, in Modica, they make a chocolate so renowned, it's sparked a bit of a rivalry. It's cold processed, inspired by ancient Aztec recipes brought over from the New World.
Yes, the famous Modica chocolate wars. Each chocolatier claims to have the richest, most authentic recipe. Citizens take their allegiances seriously. It's a battle for the ages, fought with cocoa beans instead of swords.
And no matter which side you choose, you're in for a treat. That gritty, almost savory sweetness is a true hallmark of Sicilian culinary genius.
Well, we've savored the streets, seafood, and sweets, but this culinary journey isn't over yet. Lara and I will guide you through even more Sicilian delights, plus hidden gems and peculiar attractions, as Travel with Lara and Luca continues.
So don't touch that dial, or whatever the podcast equivalent is. We'll be back in a cannolo.
And we are back. If your taste buds are still tingling from our last segment on Sicilian gastronomy, get ready to feast your eyes and imagination on Sicily's lesser-known treasures. Right, Lara?
Absolutely, Luca. While the hot spots are hot for a reason, there's something magical about veering off the well-trod path. Let's start with the Staircase of the Turks, or as it's known in Italian, La Scala dei Turchi.
A dazzling white marl cliff, sculpted by wind and waves into what looks like a giant staircase, fit for the gods, or as legend says, Turkish pirates who once climbed these natural steps during their raids.
But don't worry, listeners, the only thing you'll be raiding are the perfect photo opportunities. When the sun sets, the entire staircase glows like a beacon of pure light, reflected off the Mediterranean's canvas.
So photogenic, it puts the most filtered selfie to shame. Now, for a spookier detour, there's the ghost town of Poggio Reale. Abandoned after the 1968 earthquake, its crumbling ruins hold stories of the past, like whispers from a bygone era.
Walking through its empty streets is like stepping into history. The silence speaks louder than words ever could. You almost expect a spectral figure to appear at a balcony, greeting you with a haunting buongiorno.
If they do, we hope they don't hold a grudge about being woken up after all this time. But if you prefer living locals to ghostly apparitions, head to the enchanting town of Favara. There, near Agrigento, you can explore the Farm Cultural Park, a creative and artistic hub breathing new life into the city.
It's a vibrant oasis, a cultural revolution tucked away in the midst of history. Art galleries, workshops, innovative cuisine. Who said all of Sicily's art is ancient?
Bravo, I say to the modern visionaries. Now, I want to whisk you over to the salt pans of Trapani. These ancient salt flats, with their picturesque windmills, have been producing white gold way before influencers made pink Himalayan salt trendy.
Each windmill has a tale, each salt crystal a journey. And let's not forget, in this very area, the Phoenician island of Mosia lies hidden in plain sight within the Stagnone Lagoon, rich with history.
Can't get enough history, can we, Lara? Well, Mosia is home to ancient ruins and the Whitaker Museum, where you can come face to face with the famous Young Man of Mosia, a marble statue that might just rival you in looks.
Flatterer! Now for a real hidden gem, let's soar over to Eris. Perched on a mountaintop, this medieval town is often shrouded in mist, like something out of a fairy tale.
They say when the mist parts, the views across the Tyrrhenian Sea are spellbinding. And within those ancient walls, the marzipan sweets are to die for. Not literally, you know what I mean.
Yes, let's keep it lively. Onward to the idyllic Aeolian Islands. Each island is a universe unto itself. Lipari with its fortress, Salina's lush vineyards, Stromboli's fiery eruptions, and the therapeutic mud baths of Vulcano.
And if sailing between these mythic isles isn't thrilling enough, you can dive into waters so clear you'd swear you're floating in the sky.
Then there's the island of Pantelleria, kissing the coast of North Africa. It's a place of sweet passito wines and demusi houses, traditional stone dwellings with Arabian influences. It's wave-kissed and wind-blown, rugged and untamed.
Not unlike your hair on a humid Sicilian day, Lara.
Very funny, Luca. But speaking of untamed, let's talk about the Nebrodi Mountains. They're an emerald escape where you can hike through forests, past lakes, and discover charming villages along the way.
Each step in the Nebrodi is a reminder of how diverse Sicily's landscapes truly are. And we couldn't possibly talk about hidden gems without mentioning the Vendicari Nature Reserve.
A birdwatcher's paradise, whether it's the flamingos, the untouched beaches, or the ancient tuna fishery ruins, Vendicari is a testament to nature's quiet resilience.
It's easy to lose track of time, watching the flamingos wade through the shallow waters, each mirrored reflection a pink brushstroke on nature's canvas.
Our list could go on. Sicily has so many hidden gems, you could spend a lifetime uncovering them all. But perhaps that's the true allure, the promise of endless discovery, no matter how many times you visit.
So, dear friends, while the tourist spots merit their fame, remember the roads less traveled. They beckon with mystery and invite you to write your own Sicilian story.
But we're not done unearthing Sicily's secrets. Stay with us as we delve into must-see places and weird facts that make this island an even more captivating destination.
We'll be right back with more Travel with Lara and Luca. Arrivederci.
Don't wander off too far.
We're back with Travel with Lara and Luca, ready to reveal Sicily's must-see places and my personal favorite, the weird and wonderful facts that make this island a treasure trove of the unexpected. Right, partner in travel?
They don't call it the Island of the Sun for nothing. Let's start with the sparkling crown jewel, the capital city itself, Palermo. This city is a historical layer cake, isn't it, Luca?
If by cake you mean a scrumptious mix of Arab, Norman, Byzantine, and Baroque influences, then absolutely. Where else can you find a 12th century church right alongside an Art Nouveau teatro?
Oh, the Palermo Cathedral, an architectural marvel that's been a church, a mosque, and a church again. It's like a lesson in Sicilian history without cracking open a book.
Speaking of books, here's a quirky fact for you. Legend has it that the cathedral's treasure includes a piece of the true cross. And by piece, I mean just that, a tiny sliver, supposedly.
A tiny piece with a colossal story. Then you've got Quattro Canti, Palermo's Baroque square at the intersection of the city's two main streets. Each corner has its fountain, statues of a season, king and patron saint. It's like a 17th century choose-your-own-adventure.
And choosing often involves a gelato or a cannolo at a nearby cafe. But let's venture beneath Palermo to the catacombs of the Capuchin Monastery, where weird takes on new meaning.
Ah, yes. The catacombs are an ethereal place with the mummified remains of over 8,000 souls lining the walls, their expressions frozen in time.
And here's the eerie part. Among these silent figures is Rosalia Lombardo, a 2-year-old girl who appears almost perfectly preserved, earning her the nickname Sleeping Beauty.
It's a haunting reminder of our own fragility, and yet there's a certain serenity to it. Palermo is a city of contrasts, life and death, beauty and decay, all interwoven into the fabric of its streets.
From the solemn streets of Palermo to the stunning Baroque beauty of the southeast, towns like Modica and Noto aren't just must-see, they're must-feel.
In Noto, every street is a masterpiece, adorned with golden stone buildings that glow at sunset. They've even dubbed it the Garden of Stone.
Funny, my nana used to call me that when I was a stubborn kid. But I digress. Then there's Modica, split into 2 tiers. It's a Baroque beauty that rises up to meet you.
And speaking of rising, have you heard the one about Modica's chocolate war, Luca?
Chocolate War. Sounds deliciously intense.
It's a friendly rivalry among local chocolatiers, each insisting they've got the best version of the traditional Aztec recipe. There are fierce debates, blind taste tests, even chocolate sculptures.
Only in Sicily could there be a war where everyone wins, especially the taste buds. But if we're chatting sweet delights, let's not forget another must-see, the town of Castelbuono.
Nestled in the Madoni Mountains, Castelbuono is like stepping into a medieval realm. It's got castles, churches, and panettone to write home about.
Ah, the famous panettone of Fiasconaro, a twist on the traditional Christmas bread with local flavors like fig and Madoni wildflower honey. A year-round treat that's almost too good to be true.
And yet, it is. But for my next pick, we've got Caltagirone, the city of ceramics. Every corner bursts with color, from the hand-painted tiles to the astonishing staircase of Santa Maria del Monte. Every one of its 142 steps is a work of art.
One day, I'll count them all, just to be sure. And if you think that's a weird pastime, Caltagirone's staircase is the heart of the city's festive celebrations. During the Festival of Light, the entire staircase becomes a radiant cascade of candles, creating images that can be seen from miles.
So if you're planning a trip, aim for July. It's a sight that feeds not just the eyes, but the soul. Shall we share another weird fact, Luca?
Did you know that in Sicily, there's a town where they steal people's benches?
Steal benches?
See, in Prizzi, during the Dance of the Devils at Easter time, people dressed as devils run around stealing benches. It's all to ransom them back for treats and drinks in a symbolic battle between good and evil.
I love a tradition where the ransom is pastries. It's that blend of the sacred and the playful that encapsulates Sicilian spirit.
And it's that spirit, with all its quirks and surprises, that we invite you to discover.
So as we close this segment, remember, Sicily is not just a destination, it's a journey full of wonderful oddities.
Up next, we've got travel tips, side excursions, and more of our personal stories. So if you're thinking of embarking on that Sicilian journey, stick around with Travel with Lara and Luca.
Yes, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this brief interlude.
Welcome back, Globetrotters, to Travel with Lara and Luca. After whetting your appetite with our tales, we're here to arm you with essential travel tips and side excursions that will make your Sicilian saga as smooth as a well-aged Marsala wine. Isn't that right, Lara?
Indeed, Luca. Whether speeding through on a train or meandering in a car, traveling across Sicily can be its own adventure. Let's start by how to get around, shall we?
If you find driving a symphony of honks and hand gestures poetic, then rent a car and hit the road. It gives you the flexibility to explore at your own rhythm, though watch out for those narrow mountain turns. They can be tighter than my nano's wallet.
An excellent point, Luca. But if you're not up for the challenge, trains are a scenic and relaxing option. The views from the window are like rolling postcards, and it's a chance to rub elbows with the locals.
Just remember, rubbing elbows is sometimes literal on a packed train. For those short on time, buses and regional flights dish up convenience, though they lack that wandering troubadour allure.
There's charm in the journey, no matter the mode. And speaking of charm, ferries to the surrounding islands are a chapter of travel you won't want to skip. The Aeolian Islands we mentioned, worth more than a day trip.
Ah, the allure of exploring Volcano's sulfurous fumaroles or bathing in the mud pools. And as for intrepid trekkers, nothing beats an evening watching Stromboli's fiery display from the Sciara del Fuoco.
And don't forget the Agadi Islands off the western coast. Favignana, with its turquoise waters and ancient tuna fishery, is just a short hydrofoil ride from Trapani.
I can taste the salty breeze and fresh seafood already. These excursions aren't just jaunts, they're journeys into the heart of Sicily's maritime soul.
But let's get down to the nitty-gritty with a few practical tips. First, the siesta. Much of Sicily still observes this afternoon respite, so plan accordingly. Shops may close, streets may empty. It's not the apocalypse, it's just nap time.
The world could learn a thing or two from a Sicilian siesta. Embrace it, folks. It's your chance to recharge or sneak in an extra scoop of gelato, undetected.
Or maybe sip a lazy glass of wine. Another tip, pack light. Those stunning staircases and ancient streets are not your rolling suitcases friend.
True. Wear comfortable shoes too. Sicily is best explored on foot, especially in those magical hilltop towns. All the better for discovering.
Local festivals, they are the heartbeat of Sicilian culture. From the Almond Blossom Festival of Agrigento to the wild horse race of Palio dei Normanni in Piazza Armerina, you'll want to time your visit to catch at least one.
And if you're fortunate to witness a sagra, a food festival dedicated to a local product, indulge in its singular focus, be it chocolate, artichokes, or wine.
Speaking of wine, attend a wine tasting if you can. Sicily's wine regions offer sun-soaked vineyards, innovative winemaking, and stories poured with passion. Nota, near Mount Etna, has vineyards that mingle with lava flows, producing an unforgettable bouquet.
A bouquet that speaks of the land it came from. Now, if you, dear listeners, want to blend in and not stick out like a sore thumb with a camera, a little language goes a long way. Grazie, per favore, buongiorno. Politeness is universal currency.
And it can buy you smiles, better service, and even a secret recipe or two. Also, never underestimate the power of a wave and a smile when passing through those picturesque villages.
Especially if you got caught taking a grape or two from someone's vine. Not that we would know. Right, Lara?
But as our tales and tips come to an end, we intertwine this journey with a hint of history, one that has shaped the culture, the land, and the people. A history of conquests and diversity that makes Sicily the wondrous mosaic it is today.
And speaking of history, our next segment will have us sharing some of our personal stories tied to specific places that have graced us with joy, astonishment, and a few unexpected lessons.
So don't pack up just yet. Stick with Travel with Lara and Luca for more personal anecdotes and oddities of Sicilian life.
Hang tight. We'll be right back with more on the Sicilian journey of a lifetime.
See you soon, amici.
Welcome back to Travel with Lara and Luca. In this segment, we peel back the layers of time to share a bit of history alongside our own personal stories. After all, every cobblestone in Sicily is steeped in the narratives of those who've walked before us. Isn't that so, Lara?
It truly is, Luca. From the ancient Greeks to the Arabs, Normans, and the Spanish, every conqueror has left their imprint on this island. It almost feels like time travel, doesn't it?
Time travel. Imagine if we could walk through the bustling streets of ancient Syracuse or witness the power struggles in the courts of Frederick II. Sicily's history is as dramatic and varied as any opera you'd see at Teatro Massimo in Palermo.
Precisely. And yet, in that grand historical theater, it's often the personal, intimate stories that resonate most, like my own family's connection to the city of Ragusa. Luca, you remember the old photograph my nana cherished?
The one of the rugged Ibline countryside with your great-grandparents in the foreground? A crumpled piece of paper that carried generations of love, hardship, and hope.
Exactly. Whenever I walk through Ragusa Ibla's narrow streets, I imagine their lives, the echoes of my ancestors' laughter against the Baroque facades. I feel rooted in their legacy, as if the past converges with the present.
Beautifully put, Lara. You know, my grandfather used to spin tales about the majestic Mount Etna. He called it Mongebello, our beautiful mountain, a symbol of both creation and destruction. I remember him describing the lava flows like rivers of fire, carving paths of renewal.
And didn't he pass down a love of the land, the vineyards nourished by the volcanic soil where you'd pick grapes as a child?
He did. I recall those summers, my hands stained with juice, my heart full from stories of the earth's alchemy, transforming ash into fertile land. It taught me respect, not only for nature's might, but also for the resilience of those who call Etna home.
That respect is evident, even now. Listeners, you might be interested to know that Luca is quite the amateur gardener, a tribute to his granddad and the land he loves.
Better amateur gardener than an amateur chef, right, Lara? Your attempts at caponata still hold a place in Sicilian folklore.
Oh, please, it wasn't that bad. But speaking of food, my food journey through Sicily has been transformative. There's a reason I wax poetic about cannoli. On my first trip to Palermo, I had the pleasure of learning how to make them from a pasticcere, a pastry chef who'd inherited this craft from his nonno.
And didn't he tell you, making cannoli isn't cooking, it's sculpture, it's poetry.
Indeed, he did. Every fold of the dough, every beat of the ricotta was like a verse in an ode to sweetness. This is what I adore about Sicily. Stories and secrets shared over kitchen counters, binding us through tradition and taste.
It's the kind of connection that transcends time. Like my own tale of fishing for ricci, sea urchins, off the coast of the Maddalena Peninsula. There's a peculiar rush in plucking these spiny treasures from the rocks as the tide ebbs and flows.
A story that reminds me of how this island's identity is shaped by the sea. The same waters that brought Odysseus, the Phoenicians, and countless others to these shores.
That's just it, Lara. Our personal stories mix with those of adventurers, merchants, conquerors, and dreamers who've all sought sanctuary or fortune on this island. Sicily doesn't just have a history, it has a soul.
A soul that captivates and keeps us coming back for more. It's our hope, dear travelers, that through our stories and the tales of Sicily, you've felt the pull of this enchanting land.
Come and write your chapter in Sicily's never-ending story. Hike the hills, sail the seas, savor the sweets, and may your journey be as rich and layered as the history that embraces you.
And when you do, share your stories with us. But for now, our Sicilian sojourn must come to an end.
Every time we talk about Sicily, it feels like the first time. The tales of this island are as endless as the Mediterranean horizon. Looking back on today's episode, Lara, what's been your favorite part?
Oh, that's like asking me to choose my favorite child. Impossible. But if I must, it's sharing the hidden gems. There's something about divulging those lesser-known spots that feels like passing on a precious secret.
And the joy in revealing those secrets is matched by the delight in uncovering them. For me, it's about bringing history to life, imagining the grandiosity of ancient temples or the mystique of Palermo's catacombs.
And let's not forget the tastes. How could I choose between the charm of our must-see places and the delectably sweet cannoli and savory arancini? Each bite seems to hold a piece of Sicily's soul.
True. Those flavors linger on the tongue and in the memory long after the journey's end. It's a reminder that travel isn't just about where you go, it's about what stays with you.
Including the extra pounds from all that incredible food, am I right? But in all seriousness, if our listeners take away one thing, let it be the spirit of Sicily. Its warmth, vitality, and zest for life.
We paired Sicilian marvels with our travel tips, hoping to prepare you for an adventure of your own. Remember, whether you're navigating the winding roads or uncovering ancient ruins, carry the spirit of discovery in your heart.
And with that spirit, go forth and create your own tales. Embrace the unexpected, cherish the encounters, and let Sicily happen to you.
As we say our goodbyes, we thank you for joining us on this Sicilian journey. Next time on Travel with Lara and Luca, we'll unravel another captivating destination. So,
keep your passports handy and your sense of wonder alive. Buon viaggio, dear friends, and,
as they say in Sicily, ni verremo till we meet again.